Welcome everyone. I'm joined today by Armen Harutyunyan, an expert in cryptocurrencies and financial technology. Armen is the Fintech and Blockchain Fellow at the Singapore University of Social Sciences, as well as the Academic Council member at the Global Fintech Institute. Armen, thank you very much for joining us today.
Thank you for the invitation.
Absolutely. As you know, there's a lot of talk in Armenia these days about cryptocurrencies. So I was wondering if you could just please explain to us right now what the crypto ecosystem is like here. Who are the players? What are they doing? What's going on?
Okay, let's start. What is the crypto ecosystem? Because ecosystem is the environment that may attract startups, businesses, young entrepreneurs into this business. In Armenia, unfortunately, there are not many things in terms of the ecosystem. I mean, we don't have the regulation yet in place. We don't have any educational programs that are preparing specialists in the blockchain technology or the crypto or even in general in the fintech sector. There are only some enthusiasts, some people and companies and startups that are interested in the topic. They're trying to build their connection and links with the rest of the world, trying to come up with some coins and some token solutions in Armenia as well. But in general, I would say we're still lagging behind in terms of those technologies of decentralization, utilization of the blockchain technology in different parts of the government services as well as financial services. And finally, of course, we're not creating this environment that attracts businesses and entrepreneurs from around the world, because it's not sufficient to have your local ecosystem that attracts only local experts. You have to have foreign businesses, foreign companies, entrepreneurs to be in the country, because they will be the source of the information, source of the new insights and stuff like that. So having that in mind, I would say we still are beginners in the crypto area. Although there are some bright people engaged in this business, I would say in terms of the ecosystem, we don't have one.
And can you tell us more about those enthusiasts and entrepreneurs you were talking about? What exactly are they working on as far as you understand? Are they mining? You said creating coins. What part of the ecosystem are they in, so to say?
You know, to be honest with you, I don't think that mining is the huge part of this ecosystem, because basically in the technology of the decentralization, it's not a big matter where these miners are. And even more recently, the Ethereum blockchain has adopted the proof of stake technology, which doesn't require mining at all. That's a new technology of the saving electricity, saving hardware, and moving into a more, I would say, sustainable way of managing the crypto. So of course, in the Bitcoin blockchain, you still have the miners, and Armenia has a few miners in terms of the size that are pretty large and doing a pretty good business. But I would look rather at a different side, because for the mining, what you need is the cheap energy and a good hardware, right? And it's not a big business. For me, it's more those people that are trying to come up with the technology solutions within the blockchain technology. Look, if we look at the market for the different coins and tokens now, probably they're going through the turbulent times. But the turbulence comes not from the blockchain technology or the crypto in general, but rather economic stance in the world. It's an inflation, it's a kind of a fear of recession, and when you look at the financial markets, most of them are not doing well. They're underperforming at the moment, and that's of course also influences the crypto market. But in general, I would say that within this ecosystem, again, we have the bright people, we have some mining companies, and especially those are the larger units, larger investments that are trying to generate some earnings as a result of their operation. But still, to say that we are doing a pretty good job in that area, not. And there are many things that we need to accomplish to ensure that Armenia is not lagging behind, but benefits from all those technology developments in the blockchain area that we can.
And what about retail? If I wanted to go to a store in Yerevan and pay using Bitcoin or Ethereum, what are the chances that that store will accept the payment?
You know, at first I think in order to pay, you have to have the credit card at least. And if I'm not mistaken, those companies that are issuing the MasterCards or Visa cards that enable you to use the crypto, I mean the conversion to the currency and then the use of the cryptos, they're not accessible to the citizens of Armenia. There are geographical limitations. In case, in my opinion, if you have the credit card which has that ability, say you're a foreigner who issued that credit card, you can still use that, because at the end of the day, during this transaction, that would be the conversion from the crypto to the fiat currency. So you can use that, but Armenian citizens does not have that opportunity because they cannot get that card. Otherwise, I know that there are different companies and people can cash out if you have the crypto wallet, for example, but this service also costs 1% or a little bit more depending on who is the service provider.
Okay, I understand. I know that you have extensive experience studying the crypto ecosystems in Singapore and Israel as well. Tell us about that, and what lessons could Armenia take from those countries' examples?
Of course, the number one would be, and especially the Singapore would be the best case, the Monetary Authority of Singapore, which is basically their central bank. I had a chance to meet with the Chief Fintech Officer at the MAS a few weeks ago, and actually we've been discussing what it would mean to have the smart regulation for the crypto. And his answer was very simple. We allow everything. We do not allow, we ban advertisement. So the speculation is not spreading within our population or people, or at least people are explained about the benefits of the crypto and how shall you use that crypto. But on the other hand, they are licensing all crypto related activities. So if you have the license, you can do whatever you want to do in terms of the exchanges, in terms of the ATMs, in terms of the registering the businesses that will be dealing with the crypto, with the tokens, with all those technologies related to the blockchain in general. But you have to have this license. In other words, their regulation is very flexible and smart from the perspective that they allow most of the things, but at the same time, they're trying to protect the rights and protect the interest of their population, so they're not victims of the speculation. Because on one hand, the crypto is a technology for the decentralization, right? And if we're thinking about the most recent developments, such as the Meta world, Horizon world, something that we may potentially move some part of our life into the virtual world, then of course crypto has a great opportunity to become a source of the funding and source of the payment in this virtual worlds, right? But on the other hand, of course, you have to have the regulation in place. So one of the pillars that I think Singapore is doing pretty successful is regulation. It's still not completed. We should watch out how they regulate that, but they're doing a pretty good job. Then the second is education. They have many projects integrated within the different universities. One of the universities that I'm engaged in, University of Social Sciences, they have many different programs. They have the degree programs, they have the shorter term, I would say, training for those who are interested in crypto. But other than that, other than academic degrees and short-term programs, they also have the companies like Tribe, for example, and the idea of Tribe is that they receive funding from the large technology organizations, such as IBM, for example, in order to help those people who are interested with the blockchain technology to move from simple programming to the blockchain programming. And then that's a way of the recruiting people. As soon as you complete the program, there are many opportunities within these companies to work for them. Number four is that they have also many acceleration programs, international acceleration programs, to attract talents to Singapore. That's also very important because Singapore, one of the advantages and one of the, I think, strategic competencies of the Singapore used to be that they're trying to attract people to live and work in Singapore. And now they're doing the same thing in the crypto and blockchain area in general, because I'm always kind of trying to use the both titles. Although blockchain, I would say, is separate from the crypto, because crypto is all about finance. Blockchain is technology that can be used in different sectors of the economy, in government, mostly in all those areas where we see utilization, when you see the problem of the data protection, etc., etc. In other words, if I split those, I would say, what are the advantages of creating this environment for the crypto? I would say it's education and acceleration programs, it's smart regulations, and that would be the backbone for the development of the crypto ecosystem.
I really appreciate you explaining how blockchain is different, because I think these can get confused easily. I also want to talk about fintech, which is another related concept but is different. So I'm wondering if you could explain to us the difference, and then also tell us about the state of fintech here in Armenia and how that is playing a role.
And basically, fintech is a financial technology. So in my opinion, the fintech is important from the perspective of making financial services more affordable, more accessible, so people not wasting their time at the banks waiting for their turn, and at the same time, those services that a consumer receives would be quick and affordable. You know, there are many different kind of technology solutions used in different countries, especially I would say China and Asia Pacific is pretty ahead with those technologies because of this accumulation of the big data. Those companies like Alibaba, like WeChat, they integrated these solutions based on that amount of information they received from the people. And that's information basically voluntarily provided by the people, right? If you're using, say, Alibaba services, you're buying a lot of stuff, the scoring is integrated within your technology solution. Then you have this product called Ant, and Ant has become kind of an engine for funding your operations and transactions. And depending on those data that's collected and analyzed with the different tools of machine learning and artificial intelligence, you get the companies that have nothing to do with the banks. They started with a simple marketplace, and now they have become the huge financial service providers. And some banks are lagging behind of these technologies. So if you look at the Armenian ecosystem, one thing that people are associating with the fintech, which is still fintech, but it's not the most important part, is an application. Yeah, application is good, that you're trying to do some operations and transactions with your phone, but it's not enough, because the fintech considers the design and the transformation of the entire architecture of the bank. And it could be different from the commercial banking, it could be different for the consumer banking. And otherwise, there are companies like, say, in Singapore, APIX, that are helping those banks to transform into the fintech bank provider. So in this matter, I would say that we have some evolution. We're not, I would say, we're doing a pretty good job, but we're doing it very slowly. And especially that depends on this big data analytics, because we still don't have many banks that are doing, that are adapting the new technologies of the data analytics. And that's why most of the banks, even when they are issuing their loans, unfortunately, they're depending on the old-fashioned traditional ways of the evaluation and assessment. While this big data, which is actually generated in these banks, can help them to make more smarter decisions, can reduce their transaction costs, and can make this banking sector more attractive in general. And I think there are a great opportunity for some of the banks, having in mind that we still don't have that services available, to be the leaders in the transformation. And as soon as one or two banks will move into this direction, I'm sure it will be trigger for others to follow that as well. In my opinion, the number one place in terms of the adoption and implementation of the fintech technologies would be the China. And it's again associated with this huge data collection and analytics. Then that probably the next would go to the United States, which is trying to accomplish this agenda, which is more vivid in my opinion with the startups and the companies which has nothing to do with the banks, because when you look at the traditional banking system, they're still very traditional in how they're doing these businesses. I don't want to name any particular large bank, but I used to be the client of the very famous banks, and even their application, even simple application, was terribly bad in terms of the operation, in terms of the functionality, in terms of the how fast are them. And another issue, for example, you will see in Europe, because of the very tough regulation over the data protection, they are not enabling this ecosystem for banked transformation. And still you have a couple of applications that are doing a pretty good job in terms of the providing loans, providing credits, doing some transfers, and they're successful. And they're gonna take some business out of the banks. So going back to Armenia, what I would suggest is to work with those companies that have the capabilities and skills for transforming into the fintech provider. That means the entire bank architecture, but also fintech solutions and improvement of the applications to enable the clients of the banks to do more functionality and make it more make it quicker in general. But at the moment, I think we still have a lot of homework to do.
Well, that's a great note to leave this conversation on. So, Armen, thank you again for joining us today. Stay tuned for part 2 of this interview, where we get into the nuts and bolts of Armenia's crypto ecosystem and discuss in detail how Armenia should move forward. Thank you.